TikTok, it's time to rock. It's a celebration, ladies and gentlemen, with myself and our co-hosts here. It's a celebration, and I'm pinching that. I nicked that line from Carl from the other day. You know, we've got to remember that we are obviously, as fans, mourning the loss of Charlie, but we're here to celebrate it. So it's my pleasure, as usual, to have some co-hosts of some caliber again. Some caliber, certainly a little bit more interesting with some of their stories than what I could ever offer. But we'll go around and we'll introduce ourselves for the people that don't know, at least 2 or 3 of us. That'll be good. And then we've got a special little shout out that we're going to do before we kick the channel. So everyone knows me. My name is Andrew. I'm here in Hamilton, New Zealand, and it's a pleasure to spend some time with some cool cats. Foxy.
Hello. Yeah, my name's Richard. I'm currently in Auckland, New Zealand. I used to live in Hamilton a long time ago and knew Carl. So in a previous lifetime, that'd be 30-odd years ago, I guess. So it's good to be back. I've been on here before a couple of times, but not for a long time. And sad circumstances, obviously, with the passing of Charlie Watts. But here we are. So, yeah, I've been a Stones fan. I got into the Stones in the mid-'80s when I first left home. And my best friend at the time had a few Stones tapes, and we were in Rotorua one day, where I was born, well, used to go to school. And he flipped over the cassette one day on side 2 of Sticky Fingers came on, and Bitch was the song, and that was the moment. And since that moment, I was hooked on the Stones. It's just the sound, the beat, the brass on that, and just the driving speed of it. I just absolutely loved it, and been hooked since then. And you start off buying one album and a T-shirt, and before you know it, can get a little bit out of control. And I've been very fortunate to have seen the Stones 54 times all around the world. So it'll be life will be different now for sure for traveling Stones fans in particular. I think so. We'll see
just
how
a couple of
life
shelves
unfolds going forward.
Should I?
Just a couple of things. Yes.
Just a couple of things.
Yeah, just a couple. Yeah. So, yes.
And Brad.
Well, my name's Brad. I'm in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, and we're here to celebrate the amazing Charlie Watts from the Stones. I've been a Stones fan since a kid. I think the Rolling Stones have always been on from day dot from me. I know the Rolling Stones as much as I know just about every other band I'm into. Obviously I saw the Stones once in 1995 with my father at the cricket ground, Sydney Cricket Ground, and it was one of those moments where it's like you're looking at a piece of history on stage, and I feel grateful and blessed that I had that opportunity. The Stones have always been there. I always felt like the Stones are invincible. Their music is infectious. It's always been, it's like as much as the Beatles and Elvis Presley, there's the Rolling Stones for me. And they've always been such an integral part of, who I am as a DNA, in my DNA as a musician. And look, who knows what the Stones plan to do now, but for me, it'll never be the same without Charlie. He was, the backbone and the sound and the swing and the swagger behind the Stones for me, and he'll sorely be missed. Carl.
Hey, thank you, guys. Once again, thanks for the invitation. Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you, brother.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, great. Yeah. Great. So, hey, once again, hi to everybody. Thanks, Andrew, for organising the show. Richard, we go back early 90s, I think. That's another story within itself. And kindred spirits, Richard and myself, as well as Andrew and all of us. The Stones have been a part of my life since water, since birth. So and will always be a part of my life. And Charlie, as you guys mentioned, is the rock, as part of the roll. And when you mentioned that song "Bitch," Richard, I mean, what a phenomenal drum track!
Yes.
Wow, so unbelievable. So yeah, mixed emotions, no pun intended. A combination of obviously sadness and happiness in the sense of celebrating his great illustrious career as a drummer, as a band member, as a friend, as a jazz player, as a dapper individual, as an Englishman, as Simon could appreciate. And I'm just here to share some wonderful stories. I've seen the Stones 3 times, twice at 95 at Western Springs, Auckland, which I found to be quite average concerts. But the highlight was San Antonio in 2004, I think, the 40 Licks tour. So, thank you very much. I look forward to sharing some stories. On to you, Simon.
Yeah, hi, I'm Simon,
the
rock professor, and I live in the UK. I live near Bristol, in the west of England. And I guess I'm a bit older than you guys. I arrived at the Stones in '72 when I started buying records, so I'm arriving at kind of Exile on Main Street era, possibly Goat's Head Soup. It's kind of my first Rolling Stones albums, and saw them in the '70s as well with Mick Taylor. Of course, the best version of the Rolling Stones is with Mick Taylor, as everyone knows.
For sure.
We've done the maths, and the formula says that is no. And they were great. I mean, they were the Rolling Stones, and I think that if you want to, what I saw was pretty much the Brussels Affair kind of CD. That if anyone's got that, I presume you have. So yeah, I mean, as I say, and I said this other day, one of the first things I ever learned to play on an electric guitar was tumbling dice. Andrew was asking me if it was you said, is it the 5-string version? No, it's that was Voodoo in 1973, Andrew. I didn't know anything about that. 5-string weird tunings. Nobody'd ever heard of that in Bristol. So I played it on the normal 6-string version, the charlatans version of it. But clearly, I mean, the Stones were huge. I can remember the Stones being on top of the pops in the 60s, doing Satisfaction and Brazil. All those songs that the soundtrack of my, younger teenage life, really. And the age-old question, I don't know, for us, was, Stones or Beatles? You had to choose one or the other. I could never choose. I thought they were both magnificent,
Yeah.
And, I'm from the era when they started being called the greatest rock and roll band in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest rock and roll band in the world, the Rolling Stones. That's how they're introduced. And that's how they should go on being introduced. But
awesome, Simon. Can you do a quick shout out too before we get a little bit more in depth with the rest of the show? Because we always like to do that. Yeah. We always appreciate people hanging out with us.
Yeah, so we say good morning, Sonia. Hi, Sonia from Texas. Mark Tanner. I don't know where Mark's from. Ellen Forrestine. Does Ellen live in Melbourne? She lives in Australia for sure. Sonia. Helen Winter. Hello, Helen. Nice for you to join. Hobo Roadie. Brooks Reed. Morning, Brooks. What else we got? Texas Jackdaw. Morning, Texas. Crappy Luxury. It's a great name, isn't it? Pride of Gothenburg. Gunler. I think that's probably all we've got at the moment. Hugh Caldwell as well. Hugh. Morning, Hugh. So morning to everyone in the chat. Hope I got everyone. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining.
Awesome. Appreciate that. So we also have some serious messages to get out of the way before we get into the fun of the show. So Brad, if you can do that,
are we not going
to
introduce Carl? He hasn't done his introduction yet, sir.
Me?
Yes, you.
I'm pretty sure I have.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
Did I
did.
miss it? Did I go to sleep in it? Marvelous.
You've heard it before.
And he looks like a bit part player in Assassin's Creed, I think. Anyway, sorry, Andrew. Sorry, I shall wake up and my cup of tea in a minute.
Yeah, no problem. I thought you were having me on, but you're serious, so that's okay. I can I can take a good joke. Trust me, Brad. So if you can, obviously, you've got some information there that's very close to the show and a lot of the people in the chat. So if you could do a dedication for us for the show, I would all be grateful.
Oh, 100%, Andrew. I'd like to dedicate this show to our good friend Warren, who's a big part of our channel. He contributes in so many ways, humor, everything, including financially. So massive part of the show. He's been a part of the show since before I started with the guys. And let's give our warm prayers and everything out to Warren at the moment. He's been in hospital the last few weeks, and it looks like he's going to be in hospital till the end of September. So please, everyone, send through. I've just got a message from him. So, please, we dedicate this to you, Warren, and our prayers are with you, mate. And, everyone send your warm thoughts and, channel that through to Warren, our good friend.
Awesome. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That was beautiful. Okay, guys. So the Rolling Stones, the greatest rock and roll band in the world. We're lucky. We're lucky. We've got a couple of Stones nuts here that can talk for hours and hours and hours. So we're going to ask, obviously, Foxy 50-odd times. So he's going to talk a little bit. He's going to entertain us. He's going to pass on some bits of wisdom, some insights that he's picked up over the years. He's going to get a little bit more in depth into the magic of the Rolling Stones for us. That's what we're here for. We're just fans. We're here, Foxy. We're just, at a party, having a couple of beers,
Likewise.
talking about some music.
That's a good idea, actually. It's beer time. So carry on.
Yeah, okay. And so what we're going to do, guys,
Rolling Stones beer.
Is the bar open?
We're going to do a round table. If you got any questions, especially for Foxy and Carl, who aren't on here often, Brad,
Yes.
Simon, and I, well, you can hit us up anytime. But if you got something specifically for Brad and Foxy and Carl, that would be great.
Cool.
Yeah. There's no point messaging Simon, myself, or Andrew. You might as well message those guys because you don't really see them that often on the show. You see us ratbags on the show all the time. So, but we can't get off the show. Actually, Andrew holds a bloody.
Andrew's got you as a prisoner, isn't he? I'm just a prisoner.
Literally at the moment. Yeah. So who are we with? We're going to send. Yeah, we want everyone in the chat to send messages to Carl and Foxy. Now.
Yeah. So Foxy, if you got your beer, if you want to give us.
I have. So I can just start with a little. But I was like Carl. My first Stone shows were the two at Western Springs in 1995 in Auckland, and I'd been, as I said before, I'd been a fan since the mid '80s. So for 10 years, I thought, I'm never going to see the Stones. You heard all the, lived through all the dirty work stuff, and we're not getting on, and all that sort of carry on, and then Steel Wheels came, and that was all American based, and I had no money, and I was, couldn't even contemplate going to America at that stage to see them. So I thought, I'm never going to see them, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, they announced two shows in Auckland here for the Stones, and I couldn't believe my luck, and the tickets were $120 or something, I think, which was it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't silly expensive either, I guess, and fantastic. And I have to disagree with Carl on that. I thought it was brilliant because I hadn't seen them before, and so anything would have been fantastic. And the beauty with those two shows too, which I think is very rare, is they were a day apart. Was there were 8 different songs on the second night, which is unheard of these days, and even back then it was pretty rare. They might have mixed up 3 or 4 or 5 songs, but we got 8 different songs on the on the second night. So we were very lucky here in New Zealand, I think.
Yeah.
And then, do you want me to carry on, or you want questions, or what?
Keep talking.
Carry on.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, and so I've been, as I said, I've been a Stones fan for a while. I've been buying bits and pieces, but to actually see them live is just phenomenal. It's just unbelievable. And one of my, jumping ahead a little bit, one of my greatest joys of going to Stones shows around the world. I remember going to a show in Nuremberg, and I just arrived, and I was staying in a backpackers there, and I was sharing a room with two Americans who'd heard of the Stones, young guys, sort of my age, who were in their late 20s or whatever, early 30s, whatever, and I'd heard of the Stones, but didn't know anything about them. And I took them, said, "What are you guys doing today?" And they said, they had no plans. So I said, "Come, let's go see the Stones with 100,000 or 95,000 Germans." And they said, "Okay." So went along, and they're just blown away. Anyone for the first time who goes and sees the Stones is just, absolutely blown away by the brilliance. And they come on stage, and particularly, Mick and Keith come to the front. And if you're close to the front or anywhere really, I guess, and you just see them, and just the aura they put out there, and just the energy and the excitement, and just the crowd just lifts, and it's just fantastic. It's just, I've been to lots of other shows by lots of other bands, and I like other music, but I'm purely in love with the Stones, and it's just magic every time. Goosebumps every time they come on stage. It's just fantastic, and it's great taking them. And I think 2014, I took one of my best friends in Perth actually to the show there, and he'd listened to me rabbit on about the Stones for 10, 15 years. Well, 20 years or something like that. And he'd drag me along to some other concerts and things that I hadn't particularly enjoyed, and in Auckland. And I took him along, and I just watched his face, when the Stones came on stage. I didn't even look at Mick briefly. He was kind of just behind me, and I turned around and looked at his face, and it was just the mouth dropped, and just, and he wasn't even a big Stones fan, but he's just, blown away by the band when they come on stage, and the energy, and that. And Charlie's right behind it. He is the engine room. You would have read all the millions of cliches over the internet in the last couple of days, but they're all true. They're all true. He was the rock. He was the driving force behind it. He kept them together. He was the go-between between Mick and Keith a little bit. So was Ronnie, I guess, as well, between Mick and Keith at different times. And and Keith has often said, I want to play with Charlie Watts. That's, he's the best, and I don't want to play with anyone else. So that's why I'm happy to stay in this band, and deal with Jagger's shit on the side, I guess, because he wanted to play with Charlie. So, and we were lucky, imagine being a Beatles fan, I'm sorry, Simon, but Jesus, well,
it's fine.
We've just been so blessed. The Stones just carried on and on and on and on, So they should.
One of the things I've seen. One of the things I've seen suggested, Richard, is that Mick and Keith should join forces with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. I thought this might horrify you, no end. But
yeah. Well, maybe Ringo Starr could come on and join in, but there's no room for left-handed guitarists, sorry. So, yeah.
Not
do
even
you still have that
guitarists.
doormat, Richard, of the Beatles?
I do. So I have a room here I call the Voodoo Lounge, which is 99.999% Rolling Stones, and it is literally. And I have a Beatles doormat, so you can scrape that shit right off your shoes when you walk in. An Abbey Road doormat. So yeah.
Sure,
I'm surprised you allow him on, Andrew. Honestly, I do.
I don't mind the Beatles; they're actually okay. But we're not recording this, are we? So,
It's going live to millions of people, Richard.
Millions of people around the
whole world knows that you.
All my Stones fan friends will be unfriending me now as we go on. So, yeah.
Yes.
So,
But yeah, it is true, isn't it? That thing about him being, and that the interesting, I think, is always that rapport that him and Keith had, Charlie and Keith. That thing, isn't it? I've heard descriptions of them in the studio where, they spend days and it's all like messing about and it's not really happening, and then all of a sudden, Keith will look at Charlie and it's like a camera coming into focus. Something clicks in, and all of a sudden it's like, you better have the tape machine turned on because this is where the magic is happening.
Yeah,
like right now, and I think musically, and that's quite amazing to have that that kind of intuitive rapport with somebody like that. A drummer and a guitarist. I mean, I think that Keith being one of the great rhythm guitarists of the world ever is that kind of figures.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of questions already in the chat for you, Foxy. Have you got any Charlie memorabilia there that you want to share with us? And if you have, we'd like to see it. Or if you don't have it handy, maybe you want to talk
I have
about
I have a lot of Charlie stuff, but let's just start with the best thing, okay? So the best thing, and one of the best things in my whole collection is this here. Is a Charlie Watts drumstick.
Yes.
So which you can go and buy. You can go and buy this Charlie Watts drumstick, except for this one here, as you can see. I don't know if you can see where my camera is actually used. So Charlie used this one in Houston in 2019. At the end of every show, he throws out 2 drumsticks, one out to the right and one out to the left. And if you've been to enough shows, roughly where he's going to throw it. He's pretty reliable in terms of his throwing arm and his distance and all that. And basically at the end of the show, or just during satisfaction, right at the end, there's a certain bunch of guys who are after these things in Nova. So we all sort of go to this area, and it's not quite a fight normally, but it's certainly a challenge to get one. And that night I was very successful. I was quite lucky in Houston. A lot of the other guys who are onto it, they weren't actually at that show, so it was a bit easier than normal, because normally a lot of people just watching Mick and Keith coming down towards the catwalk, and Charlie sort of further behind them and throws out the stick and waiting and watching it. And this one just landed straight at my feet, so just straight down on the ground, and amazing. So this is one of the holy grails of my collection, to have a used Charlie Watts drumstick.
You got that legitimately. You didn't have to whack anybody or pay anybody off.
No, I didn't. I got 100% legit. I didn't have to beat up on any old ladies or stake it out of anyone's hand. No one else in that vicinity was looking, and it came, and I couldn't quite reach it, and it just went down to my feet, and I just went straight down on the ground and put it under my chest there and just lay there for 30 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever it was, just to make sure everyone else had disappeared and wasn't looking for it anymore, and picked it up and walked away with it. So
really? Getting a drumstick than a guitar pick.
Yeah, well, I have some Charlie Watts guitar picks as well, but as you know, so there's a Charlie Watts guitar pick, and I can grab that as well while we're here.
Awesome. Yep, we can still see you.
Good morning, Greg Vanzini. Nice to see you.
And the beauty with the Charlie Watts, as you probably all know, Charlie doesn't play a lot of guitar, but there is actually a Charlie Watts guitar pick. Here it is. Here, my guitar pick.
I thought you were going to say Gibson had issued a Charlie Watts signature 335.
So we have the Charlie Watts guitar pick there. And the reason for the guitar pick is because Keith Richards likes to play with Charlie. So Keith's preference generally is to play with the Charlie Watts guitar pick rather than the Keith Richards guitar pick. He often plays with that because he wants to play with Charlie.
Wow.
Wow.
And in terms of other Charlie stuff, I've got his autograph a couple of times. This is not the first one I got, but this is my Stones jacket, which is weighs a ton, covered in badges. So it literally weighs, I don't know.
How do you get through an airport with that?
Checked luggage, mate. So yeah. But anyway, Charlie's autograph. I don't know if you can see it in the middle here, over here. But he autographed this for me in Amsterdam in 1998. So it's very fortunate. And then at the same time, Mr. Jagger as well autographed it while we're on the subject of that. And then over this side, Keith autographed it here in Auckland after the famous coconut tree incident. So one love, Keith Richards. So yeah.
And you have a famous photo of you and Charlie together, is that right?
I do. I have some photos of me and Charlie from Charlie was the first Stone I ever saw outside their hotel in '95 in Auckland. I was just hanging around outside there, as you do. And Charlie came out. I overheard the security guards just earlier talking to the staff here. Oh, we need to all get the car up so Charlie can go to the dentist. He was having some dental problems or whatever. So we knew that he was coming out sometime soon, and sure enough, he came out, and there was probably a dozen people there, a dozen fans or whatever. We all wandered over all nicely and asked for some autographs, and he was signing autographs, and I spoke to him, and I said, "Hey, Charlie, are you off to the dentist now?" And he turned around and looked at me like with this, "How the fuck you kind of know?" look on his face, you know? So I've got a couple of photos of him looking at me like this, and another one of him signing for me as well. So, yeah,
Amazing.
so that was my first time meeting a Stone. So he was cool as always, you know. He was in a suit and dressed and ready to go. So as you do when you're Charlie Watts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Picture of sartorial elegance.
Yeah,
Yes.
what great stories. And we were, like Richard said, very fortunate to have them in '95. New Zealand being a place where, unfortunately, we miss a lot of rock shows because we're so small. But they had fond memories, the Rolling Stones of New Zealand, didn't they?
They did. Well, they hadn't been to us since 1973, so it'd been a 22-year break, which is a huge gap between drinks, so to speak. And they played here in New Zealand in '65 and '66, and there's the very famous Keith Richards quote, isn't there, Carl?
Yes.
About New Zealand.
I think it was the arsehole of the world is Invercargill, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I've heard Dunedin, but I think it's Invercargill. One person once said Dunedin, but I think generally it's reference to Invercargill. So
apparently the whole town shut down at 9 and they couldn't go anywhere or do anything. They were holed up in their hotel, bored.
Yeah.
I think what pissed them off the most, though, wasn't the fact that they were closing down early, was the knock on the door for church service on Sunday. I think that's what really pissed them off.
Oh, geez, yeah. Well, speaking of church service, when in Auckland in '95, obviously the Sunday morning of the second show was the Sunday, was it? Was it Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday, Monday? I forget. Easter Sunday, or it might have been Easter Monday. Either way, I was there with a couple of friends outside the hotel at 9 o'clock in the morning, or whatever. And Patty came out with the girls, all dressed up very nicely, and I went and said, "Can I have a photo or something?" And she said, "No," and I didn't. I respected her wishes and that, and they were off to church. So the girls Keith didn't go, but the women folk went to church in Auckland that day. So that was interesting to know that, you know.
Praying for Keith.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a 3-person job, you know.
Yeah. Saints of lost causes.
Exactly.
Keith Richards said Dunedin makes Aberdeen look like Las Vegas. And none of you will have been to Aberdeen. I've been to Aberdeen. It's a kind of dour northern Scottish city, and if Dunedin makes Aberdeen look like Las Vegas, it must be. Clearly.
Yes,
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie was a very good counterbalance to the Glimmer twins, wasn't he?
He was totally, very much so, you know. And that's one of the things I love about the Stones is their personalities. They're all quite different, you know. Some bands, I don't want to name any bands, but the people are often very samey, you know. But the Stones, you know, Mick and Keith are chalk and cheese, really, in terms of personality and interest and all sorts of things. And Charlie then again as well is completely different. And Mick Taylor as well was different. And Brian Jones and, you know, Bill Wyman and even Rodney Wood. They're all very individual people, you know. There's no sort of, you can't stereotype the Stones other than for their age, I guess, and being English generally. But other than that, you know, they're all very individual kind of guys and have their own style and own interests and bits and pieces, and don't really tend to hang out together between tours. You know, Mick and Charlie will on tour will often go out together, maybe for dinner or to a museum or something like that, to a gallery. They'll often do that sort of stuff. Keith never leaves his room, generally speaking. So, yeah,
I quite like looking at the publicity shots with the publicists and the managers are trying to do quite an edgy shot of the Stones, leather jacket and the cigarettes and the punk style haircuts. And Charlie's like, "What the hell am I doing here?" You know,
not impressed. Yeah,
his expression,
which is beautiful as well, isn't it? You know, it's beautiful just the contrast. You know, so yeah, yes. But there's been a photo circulating on the internet today. I've seen quite a bit of Charlie urinating. It looks like into a tub or something like that. I think he's standing on a chair or something like that. So this is back in the '60s, and someone took a photo of it. I mean, someone else, what the person's article I was reading or whatever, years later they'd had this printed off. And they took it to Charlie to get autographed, and Charlie wasn't impressed with the picture. Oh no, not this or something. So I don't know if he signed it or not, but he was looking back at it through an older man's eyes and was not impressed by his behaviour. Well, of a lot of photos, why did you choose this one to get autographed? So.
That's the fun, isn't it? All your misdemeanors are on the front page of some newspaper somewhere.
Well, even more so these days, aren't they? So I'm glad, but I'm sure the Stones are very happy there was no social media around in the '60s and the early '70s.
Yeah, I'll bet.
We probably wouldn't have them now, would we? They'd be locked up or whatever.
Amazing.
Yes. Follow me on Instagram. Yes. Yeah. Morning, John. ZD351.
The one thing about back in the 60s and even in the 70s, bands had a lot more mystique because they weren't so there was a lack of the ability for people to check what they're up to on a regular basis. There was just all you knew of a band was their stage presence, their stage performance, and what they put out on records. Some bands were, shied away from doing any press, that sort of thing. The Stones obviously went through their phases, but obviously as the Stones went on, they got known as the dirty band, the rock and roll boys, the ones that you wouldn't want to take home to meet your mum, so to speak. So social media back then would have ruined that persona for them, because I think that persona, music aside, actually helped them get through that period. And I think as they moved forward, obviously their music did the talking, but honestly, I think that sparked more of an interest because they had a lead singer that had like big lips, they had a persona, they had the naughty boy, the dirty rockers sort of vibe going on in the late 60s, through the 60s, and in the 70s they were just like these dudes that were untouchable in my opinion. And so in a roundabout way, I think social media, to answer your question, would have ruined that, that mystique about the Stones for sure. Because a lot of modern bands today, it ruins the mystique for a lot of modern bands today.
I remember
going back to your point about the 60s and that, one of Keith's famous quotes was about the Beatles had the white hat, so what was left was the black hat, obviously the darker, more evil side of life, and so we took that and ran with that. It's a lot of Andrew Loog Oldham stuff. Obviously, built them up to work on that image and portray that image of being the bad boys and being the opposite of the Beatles, which was obviously a very smart move. So rather than just another band in suits, nice clean cut boys. So
I mean, I grew up in that era clearly. I mean, I can remember in '72 you'd buy the NME or the Melody Maker or the Sounds, and that would be where tours would be announced, where news would be announced, and that was the only place really that those things were announced. In the weekly, Thursday trek to the local newsagent to pick up your copy of the NME and see who might be on tour in the coming months. Reading down, see whether they're coming to your town or whatever. And not really on the radio much, but certainly not anywhere else. Certainly no internet. I mean, the amazing thing to me is, you'd read a review of an album by a band, and you would have no idea what they looked like. You just have to go by what the review said, or possibly the album cover, which might have a picture of them on it, but might not. You'd have to troll along to your local record shop where they would have a listening booth. Yes, folks, listening booths. And you'd go up with the album and say, "Can I listen to this, please?" And they put it on for you. You go and sit in a booth with these two speakers behind you and and watch the shop while you listen to them and decided whether you wanted to buy it or not. It was the only way, really, of of doing it. And it's like, looking back on it now, it's such a black and white world compared to now. You know, you never knew anything. The only thing you ever knew about bands was what, you know, what was printed in the music press, you know, what the music press said about them, you know, and no real way of finding out. I mean, there weren't any rock encyclopedias then or anything like that, you know, certainly not Wikipedia, but no rock encyclopedias. I mean, I think probably there might have been some in the mid-70s. I think there was an NME one vaguely in the mid-70s. But yeah, because then it wasn't historical. It was current. Therefore, nobody thought to write about it in any... in a way that was, you know, maybe 50 years later you were going to go back and look at, you know, from a if you want to research it or you want to look at it from a, you know, sociological point of view. There was none of it. It was just what there was in that week's NME or Belly to Maker, you know, Stones to play Wembley. Kind of thing.
The management was very clever. Andrew Lou Golden, David Bailey, the American photographer, was it Jared Mankiewicz?
Jared Mankiewicz,
all the album covers up till Beggar's Banquet were of the band of Brooding Faces, which, you know, when Brad mentioned about the mystique and being mysterious, so very clever marketing, you know, because very limited marketing, but you know, from day one they came across as quite very moody, you know, very moody.
Oh yeah,
and
it all helped.
And all quite dark album covers too, all quite dark as well, weren't they? Really thinking about it now, yeah, they weren't bright and tearful and that, you know.
Yeah,
very
clever marketing. You know, yes,
yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I mean, but that, and you're right. I mean, you know, having no outlets really to, you know, meant. It was easier to have that mystique and build it up, and you know, and you know, so that you didn't, you know, we never really knew, you know, really the truth of all the stuff, you know, that the Rolling Stones were doing. You would hear, you know, there would be the odd hilarious story of something or other, you know, but you never knew whether Nick Kent and Enemy was actually making it up or whether it was actually going on. You know?
Blood transfusions and things
the blood
like
transfusion in Switzerland is, you know, used to make us laugh for years, you know, and frankly, it didn't matter if it wasn't true. It was such a great rock and roll story. You know? It's just like, you know, that's you know, and then you find out it's
like
not
smoking
true.
Your dad's ashes, you know.
Yeah, that's right. It's snorting your dad's ashes is the same thing. You know, it's you know, and then you find out it's not true. It's very disappointing because you so want it to be true because it's such a rock and roll thing to do. I go every year to have my blood changed in a clinic in Switzerland.
Yes. Well, they very much worked on there, and they still do, I guess, in some ways. All publicity is good publicity, you know. So,
but Charlie was very much
the
down to earth guy, wasn't he? I mean, you know, when he wasn't touring with the Rolling Stones, he'd have his like jazz band.
Yes.
I mean, I remember seeing him in a hotel in Bridport in Dorset, just play, you know, in a pub it's a small hotel, you know, playing with the jazz band, you know, just, you know, and you think, what is the drummer in the greatest rock and roll band in the world doing in a hotel in Bridport? It's just odd. But clearly that was what, you know, it was like jazz thing. It's like, I know, well, you know, it's fine, all that hotels and all that stuff, but I can go home after I've done this, you know, back to my own bed.
Awesome. I've got a 2-minute clip here, guys, that I just re-recorded it while you guys were talking at the intro, so I'm just going to play this. It was on the drumming program that was released a couple of days ago on Netflix. So just give me a second. I'm just going to tee it up, and hopefully everyone can hear this. Give me a second. Where are we, Andrew? Where are we? Can anyone hear that?
No.
Oh, let's see it. We can't see anything. It's just black at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. That sucks.
Hold
on for a second. You guys carry on talking while I just tee that up. I might be able to fix it because it's fascinating. But Brad, if you could just go around, if we follow the horn, if you can go through and give us a bit of bit of a chat about how you got into the Stones, what specifically you like about the Stones. Someone's gone, he'll be back. Someone must be ringing him. He's on his phone. That would be cool. Then we'll go around to Carl. I'd love to hear that from Carl. And then the Rock Professor, and then we can probably talk about some key moments in Charlie's drumming career that we that we all like, if that's okay, guys. So is Foxy coming back? Hope so. Brad.
I hope he comes back, because he's got a lot to offer with all of his souvenir stuff. I was quite fascinated, so I was hoping you could show a little bit more, because it looks like, just looking at the background of his wall there, it looks like it's everything to do with the Rolling Stones. So feeling slightly inadequate at the moment with my limited amount of stuff I've got. But look,
would you like a guided tour, Brad?
What was that? Sorry.
Would you like a guided tour?
Well, why not?
If you're off, let's do it.
Can I change my camera angle around or not? I don't know how to do this. Okay, I'll just do it this way. So yeah. So we start over here, I guess. So we have shot glasses from all the countries and cities around the world that I've been to see the Stones. Then we have a shelf of exhibitionism stuff. Then just a 14 on fire shelf here, so which predominantly is the Australian, New Zealand bits and pieces, but we've got some very key things in here, including some itineraries. Here, normally two sorts of itineraries come out for every tour. One's an entourage itinerary just for the the band, and then there's a crew one, which is far more common. And there's some other knickknacks yet to be filed. And then we've got some liquor down here, all the different tequila, Jose Cuervo, Rolling Stones tequila bottles. And some CDs, which are all the so this is for everybody who they're guesting on. So Tom Waits or Bernard Fowler's solo stuff, or Chris Jagger or Sheryl Crow with Keith Richards or whatever. So a few of that sort of stuff. Then we got some bit of posters here, and then the main CD wall. So this is all 100% Rolling Stones and directly related. So solo stuff all the way through to some bootlegs and CD singles and the latest albums and bits and pieces, and all the Japanese versions and bits and pieces of all the things that have come out recently. Anal, including things like 40 licks. I think I've got 15 different versions of the CD from all around the world. Bits and pieces. Then we have a Stones bathroom. I don't know how much of this you want to see, but there's a little bathroom in here. Mix in the shower, and some mirrors and bits and pieces here. This is a very interesting poster here if we got some time. And so this is a poster made by the crew for the Voodoo Lounge tour of all the places they played golf on. So the Stones themselves not such big on golf, but the crew did it. And so we've got some of the Aussie dates in here, including Melbourne, Royal Melbourne, Victoria Golf Club, the Kingston Heath Golf Club there, and from New Zealand, Titirangi, spelt incorrectly, Muraway. So and then we've got some London and Scotland there for you.
A lot of golf clubs.
Yes, so then we've got that, and then I'll just down here is a cabinet which I can turn a light on. Just shine a light on that. Some knickknacks and bits and pieces, some badges and pins and all sorts of different stuff. And actually, another set of Charlie drumsticks here. Two sets, one brand new set and a used set from the Wellington show in 2006 as well, that I was handed by a friend of mine. Then we go through just general stuff in here. I haven't tidied the room as much as I would have if I knew I was going to have you guys here, but some bits and pieces. Then we've got a display cabinet with knickknacks by tour. So this is just all the Voodoo Lounge stuff that's available, the Frisbees and the cups and the suspenders, which is the holy grail thing to get from Germany, the Coke can from Argentina, V-dub cars, passes, lighters, watches, promo, Swiss Army knives, just all sorts of crap like that. And then we move down to the Bridges to Babylon shelf and itineraries and cups and periscope and binoculars and lighters and pins and passes and a ticket. This is one of the Holy Grail shows I've been to, my first club show. I don't know if you can see that, Shepherd's Bush Empire, £10 to get into that to see the Stones play. So just crazy cheap. Yeah. And then we move down to the Licks and a bigger bang shelf with bits and pieces here, including a set of drumsticks from Jet, who were the opening band for the Stones in Australia. Aussies, yep, good Aussie rock band from Melbourne too, aren't they, I think? And bits and pieces there, some Japanese wine that you used to get. You'd buy the VIP ticket and you get a bottle of wine, and there are 5 different ones for each of the 5 different Japanese shows on that tour. Then we moved down to the Olay and Zip Code shelf, including biscuits, chocolate biscuits and vanilla cookies, only available in Chile. And then you got the Mexican Rolling Stones beer cans, etc., etc. And then down to the Zip Code shelf. This is where the Charlie Watts drumstick normally lives. So this is from the 3 Zip Code tours, from the American one and the 2 European ones. So all sorts of stuff in there. Then we got some skateboards. I've got a pile of guitars as well. 4 guitars currently, but hopefully going to grow.
Can you put the mask on?
Then just... I can we can do the mask later, Carl. Okay, one thing at a time, mate.
Don't drag us into your own private hell, Carl.
And then some set lists and knickknacks and shoes, so the different shoes and for display. And this is the holy grail from a Kiwi point of view, is the 1973 New Zealand tour poster with the Kiwi on it.
Wow.
Then a couple of cigarette lighters, 100 to be exact, Rolling Stones ones, Bic lighters. And some Voodoo Lounge displays and the Western Springs, the Wellington poster the last time I played in Wellington with Nickelback opening. I've got a good Nickelback story actually related to the Stones, and just other bits and pieces. There's a tequila box set here, only available in New Zealand, only 30 were made. Then another 100-odd cigarette lighters, different ones, helmet. Then you got the Mentos lollies. These were only available in Italy. And it was beautiful to stand. So I've got a whole, complete sets of that, all unopened. Baseball there from the Tokyo Giants baseball team. Put some pieces there, and then magazines and box sets and some vinyl if you're into vinyl. A bit more vinyl, some box sets down the bottom there. So, and then we come across here, got a Rolling Stones fridge, obviously. Every Stones fan should have that. Some more posters, artwork, some stuff for sale, a few more lighters, spare ones, some signs, and lots of books, a few hundred books there and amongst all of that. Then we've got the pinball machine over here, which is just partially hidden at the moment underneath the jacket and bits and pieces. So, and then 300 plus Rolling Stones t-shirts and jackets. So all of that. So something for every day of the week. And back to where we started with the jacket, and there's around here, and then I've got all the DVDs and the Blu-rays, etc., down here too. So every single Blu-ray I've released. So yeah, so this is welcome to my Voodoo Lounge, Yes.
My goodness.
So
Prince of the Voodoo Lounge.
Consistency, persistence, and hard work.
I think we can. I think we can just about end the show on that. That's such a highlight. All I can say is I think you've kept. I think you've kept them all. You've kept them the income coming in for them, mate. Because
I have. Yeah, I pay for their kids' education. Yes. So and this is all, to be honest, this is all done on a very average salary as well. I'm not a doctor or a rocket scientist. I've just a lot of focus. I used to have a whole lot of other albums and collect other bands. I was big into Billy Idol originally and Van Halen and all sorts of different things, but that's all gone. I've sold everything just to fund this room, to fund the Stone stuff. And I get Stone stuff. I get parcels every 2 or 3 days. I think last year I had 110 parcels arrive or something from around the world during lockdown, and I'm heading that way at the moment. I think we're up to 60 or 70 parcels so far this year have arrived from around the world of different bits and pieces, and I've got another half a dozen probably about 8 on order, and another 4 or so in transit currently. So,
is this eBay stuff?
It's not a little bit on eBay. It's all sorts of stuff, and less eBay. So it's a lot of the official stuff, but it's only available overseas. Like Ronnie Wood's got a new album, Jimmy Reed cover album coming out, of stuff he did. But there's blue vinyl only available in certain European shops, in Fnac. Hard Rock Cafe, the other day, for the first time ever, the Hard Rock Cafe's been going forever, as you guys probably know, but finally released a Rolling Stones badge. So, only 500 of those. So I bought a few of those, you know. So online,
bought 500 of them.
Well, I didn't buy 5. I let other people have a go, you know. So
I saw Foxy. I saw a comment in the chat there. Someone asking, "What was the what's your most prized possession?" I'm just trying to find it again. Lloyd asked, "What's your most prized piece?"
Prize. Well, I like my jacket. To be perfectly honest, it's taken hours and hours to collect all these badges and find them, and some very rare ones. And I'm missing a few still. And then to have the autographs as well. That's one of the holy grails. I guess the Charlie Watts drumstick is fantastic. The Kiwi poster that I showed you before. But I guess, to be perfectly honest, the stories are the best thing, you know, the stories and the adventures and the places that the Stones have taken me around the world, you know. Lots of places I would never have gone to without them, you know. So I went to Spielberg in Austria where they have the Formula One Grand Prix. I went to Lucca, this tiny little walled village, which was just sensational. I went to outside of Buenos Aires to La Plata, where the All Blacks play. And the rugby, it's about, I don't know, not quite 100 km south of Buenos Aires, and saw the Stones there 3 times and some club shows, and I made some amazing friends all around the world. So it's just, that's the highlight of my Stones career is the people and the places. I think more so than the stuff in here.
Can you tell the story about how when you go to tours in South America where you take nothing? You take nothing in your pockets.
Yeah. Well, oh my God. So you've all been to that concert where it was really packed and it was tight and it was squashy and it took a while to go to the bathroom and it took a while to get your beer and eat. We've all been there, right? You've all had that experience. Then there's Argentina. Oh my God. It's just insane. We went 3 nights. The first night we arrived late and we bought all the merch. So I was standing at the back holding like this big bag of $1,000 worth of T-shirts and crap and all that stuff. And then the second night, we were getting a little braver, so we stood with our backs to the mixing desk, okay? And then the third night, I thought, I don't really mind if I die now. So I went to the front. We went to the front, and we were queued from 10 in the morning or whatever, and we got there, and I made sure, actually, there was one row of people between me and the steel barrier. So I had some German friends up against the steel, and I was next to that. And so we get in there, at, gates open 5 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. It's, 35, 40 degrees, stinking hot. And we go in there, yeah. And so what we'd already learned by day 3 is, especially if you don't look Argentinian, which obviously I don't, is you wear your shorts, you wear your T-shirt, you wear your shoes, and that's it. No phone, no jewelry, no credit cards, no anything, just nothing. I had 2 or 3 friends had their phones jacked out of their pockets. I had a mate who's a big police detective. A couple of days later, had his gold necklace ripped off his neck in the main street of Argentina, of Buenos Aires. Just nothing. So we took cash in the soles of our shoes, and that was it. Nothing else on, no watches or anything at all. And it was just insane. But the real insane part is the crowd when you're in there, and they do 2 opening bands, and they loved them. So they were all into them as much as the Stones, and the crush is just. So we're standing there, and if your arms are down like this beside you, your arms are down here for 5 hours. You cannot go like this. You cannot get your arms up here. You cannot get up. And I'm not bullshitting you. At the front, you cannot do this. So I had my arms up like this for 5 hours, resting on people's heads in front of me, and like that. There was a guy smoking a joint in front of me, and his ash was falling on the guy's neck in front of him. It was falling because there was nowhere else to go. I had a friend next to me, and luckily they were handing out little tiny plastic cups of water. I'd get the cup, I would pour it in her mouth because she couldn't get her hands up to hold the cup. Her arms were down for 5 hours. Like this, and you're just sweating like the proverbial, and you swear that people are peeing on you. They probably are, because you wouldn't know. You can't see. It's just dripping off you. Everything's just dripping nonstop. And luckily, I'm 6 foot tall and reasonably tall. But if you're a little short person, you're a female or whatever, you've got this hot pocket of sweaty air just above your head to breathe, and it's absolutely insane. And then when the Stones come on and the crowd jumps, if you don't want to jump, you have no choice because you're interlocked. Everyone goes up and down. Everyone goes up and down. It's not optional. I'm not jumping. You don't have a choice. You're going up because your body is being pushed up by the guys next to you. It's just insane. And then it gets worse because when Jagger comes to the front, when Jagger comes to where you are, the surge is even greater. And physically, you feel your ribs halve inside and your lungs exhale going like that as your body is physically squashed. Just insane. But my God, it was fun,
5 hours.
And at the time, I swore I'd never go back. But, hindsight and old memory, and you forget this stuff. Yeah, it was actually, okay, maybe I could do that again. But, man, it was just insane. And we're walking through the tunnel going in. There's like a whole lot of urine, portaloos, as there are at the back of the stadium. We're walking in the tunnel. All the Argentinian guys don't care. They're just all pissing all down the wall of this tunnel as you're walking down onto the field. And it's just complete animals.
It's like, listen, I can remember going to football in the early 70s, in the UK, and it was like that. I mean, not as long, clearly, only 90 minutes, but you're absolutely right. And I went to see Chelsea versus Leeds once, and I had put my hands in my pockets, and literally I ripped the pockets out of my jacket because my arms were trapped in the pockets. And that's no good in a football. You've got to. So, literally rip the pockets out to get them out of my hands, And I can remember going to Anfield, the Cop, and the piss used to run down the terraces. Because people just didn't move because it was so you were so tightly packed that you're right. All they could do was piss where they were. Basically,
there was an Aussie guy standing next to me, and he said, "I'm going now. I'm going." And I turned around. Seriously, 20 minutes later, he'd moved like a foot. In 20 minutes, he'd moved 1 foot. It was just it's next. Well, I've been in other shows, obviously where it's tight and squashy as you all have, but this is just another league completely. Even the rest of South America is mild compared to Argentina. Brazil, which you think would be the same, or Chile or whatever, but no, it's just Argentina. It's just it's unbelievable.
Fantastic. Awesome. What a great story.
I'd recommend it.
Can we just try this video, guys, please? One more time.
Video.
Third time. Hold on. And we'll make some comments. Hopefully it's going to work. Hold on, gentlemen. Hold on. Where are we? Is that coming through?
The picture is.
I can see a picture. Yep.
Yeah.
Any sound?
No. Just too much.
No sound, sir.
Yeah.
Pictures, but no sound.
Oh, what's going on? Oh, okay. Let me just try one more time. Shares audio. We'll try one more time. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. That would have been a good conversation piece. So we just have to rely on Richard to entertain us some more with some stories. Sorry about that.
That's all right. So in terms of Charlie, carry on, Carl.
Or was it some excerpts from Charlie Is My Darling in Ireland, 1965?
No, it was drummers discussing Charlie's drumming method as opposed to the drumming method that was prevalent at the time in the UK, and how Charlie missed a beat as opposed to Ringo going. Charlie would go ding ding. Ding, ding, and that's what gave it the swing, and that's what drove people crazy because they hadn't heard that before. That's all.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a bummer. Oh well. So just gonna throw it out there. What's I'm always a big one for knowing what everyone's favorite is. I mean, what would be? Everyone on the panel here will go around in order, I guess. Maybe just pick like 1 or 2 songs that really solidify what Charlie Watts means to you as a drummer. Shall we start with Andrew and go around, or Andrew?
Yeah.
Oh well, look. For me, Charlie Watts is the epitome, isn't he? One of the great things that always bears out and stands in my mind is the album cover behind us, the back, get your yayas out, Charlie, the call out from Mick Jagger, and just hearing the way that he was contributing to the band from that album certainly hooked me. And then, like Carl said, and Foxy, like Bitch, And then the opening track on this album here, Exile on Main Street, just some of the little subtle things. The cowbell on Honky Tonk Woman, just these great things, which at the time probably wasn't a big thing, but over the course of rock and roll history and time, everyone knows when you hear that ding, with the cowbell, know exactly what it is. But I think the thing for me, guys, and I want to make sure that everyone else gets, an opportunity to talk about Charlie. The thing for me was that Charlie always had this independence that was a little bit different from the rest of the band. I like that. He was intriguing, didn't he? Because he didn't say a lot, and we always wanted to know a little bit about him, but we couldn't get that. It was almost like
frustrating at times.
Yeah. And even now it is. So, so Brad, thank you for asking that question. Carl, tell us what Charlie Watts means to you, if you'd like. We'd like to hear that.
From a personality perspective, or his favorite song?
The floor is yours, brother. The floor is yours. The floor is yours. Yep.
Okay. Oh yeah. Hey, I just we talked about this with the previous show where Richard unfortunately had some technical issues, but Charlie from day one had taste. He had class. He was came from a jazz background, and so my favorite drummer is Fred Below, the drummer for the Motown sessions, Ginger Baker. A lot of these guys all had jazz. Stuart Copeland from the Police, you saw before, all had jazz backgrounds. So very stripped down kits, and then less is more. And so the Stones were 1962. Brian, Keith, Mick, obviously, Bill Wyman came into play. They were missing a good drummer. Soon as Charlie slotted in, that was the band. The rest is history, so to speak. And the simple fact, he did his job. He just basically, he wasn't like a Tommy Lee. A lot of drummers are known for being very loud and extroverted. Like the Muppet Show. What's that guy's name? The Animal.
Animal.
Yeah. Very, just real. Just he was different. He was very a gentleman, so to speak. But I just thought of a great track. Obviously, we talked about Bitch. Painted Black, he could adapt. Black and Blue, he did some nice reggae rhythms. But that song of Tattoo You is called Heaven. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
Amazing. So just a simple fact that a couple of sticks, a ride cymbal, a tom. What's that big kit called? What's the big one called? A snare, and he was away.
Yep.
He was away.
Here's a picture. I just chucked that up, and we've chucked it up yesterday on yesterday's show. But there it is. There, it hasn't changed over. Never changed. Didn't change much, did it, guys?
No, not at all. But I remember they changed the skin on one of his drums many years, within the last 10 or 20 years or something, and a bit of confetti fell out of it, out of the lip of the skin, and I go, where's that from? Oh, Hyde Park '69. It'd been in there for 30 years or something. This little bit of confetti or something, supposedly. So yeah.
So what about you? What about you, Richard? Are there any standout?
I was thinking Paint It Black, obviously, as well. I think Paint It Black is just brilliant, and it's kind of New Zealand song. Always, when I talk to people overseas, I always think Paint It Black is our song, our Kiwi song, really, our Kiwi Stone song. But for me, at a concert, I'm a Jagger fan, okay? I go there, I watch Mick Jagger, and predominantly, and the others. But for Midnight Rambler, I'm watching Charlie. I'm just waiting because it's all driven, it's just him. And we're just waiting. Come on, Charlie, hit the drum again, in the middle there and the pause after the guitar solo and just waiting for Charlie to build it up and to get it going again. And I'm just watching Charlie there. And everyone's just waiting. And Charlie's just, he's completely in control. He's the conductor, and I just really love that. It's one of my favorite Charlie moment generally during a Stone show is on Rambler.
Different time changes in that song.
Yeah, and every night's different too. That's the beauty of a Rambler. Or certainly between every tour, it's different. And but even every night, it's just its nuances are different. I have one friend who times it every night, and today it was 9 minutes 52. Tomorrow it might be 10 minutes 37. And it's just it varies in length. It's been up to back in I think in 75, it was up to 14 minutes or something at one stage. So it's just and I think it's 8 minutes 32 on Yaya's. So it's just brilliant.
And that nice, that very clever drummer, that nice break in "Can't You Hear Me Knocking," the middle Santana part,
Yeah. Oh, aye. Well, Sticky Fingers is my favorite album, and it's just all brilliant. I think Bobby Keys is underrated. I don't know, doesn't get enough credit for the magic and stuff that he brought to the Stones in the 70s, or to those albums anyway. But it's good stuff.
Awesome. Simon.
Well, I think probably, Tumbling Dice, because it was the first Rolling Stones song I learned, and it had that bad. It just got. It's like, to me, that's the essence of the Rolling Stones. That slightly woozy off, thing that they do that nobody else does. And
sleazy.
I saw. It's I wouldn't describe it as sleazy. Just this kind of, it just sort of just moves beautifully. I mean, it's fantastic. Do they do what nobody else could do? And I saw a Stuart Copeland, that clip we were playing. I don't know whether he was going to say it in that, about saying that Charlie, the thing about Charlie Watts is he plays his snare drum on the beat and his bass drum just a little bit behind the beat. Just a fraction. Only he can do it because he's that's how he plays. It's a kind of natural thing, it's not but it just gives it that kind of slightly, and obviously Keith, locks into that. But so Tumbling Dice for me, not because I think it's got a great drum, but I think that guitar and drums bit in the beginning to me is one of the essences of the Rolling Stones. Sympathy for the Devil would be my other one. I've played it live with a drummer and a percussionist. My God, the power you get out of that! Somebody banging away on all these,
it's probably a great song.
We used to do it in my old band. It's just, the power is amazing. It was just setting back on this sort of Latin rhythm. This thing, it was just incredible. So I definitely have to go for that. Get Off My Cloud as well, with those machine gun drums that he does all the way through. Which is amazing. We used to do that in an old band, so that comes to mind as well as an amazing thing. Yeah. Brad, you're on mute, mate.
Brad, your turn.
My apologies there. I was on mute.
And there you are, not on mute.
I was typing, so I didn't want it to come through the,
very considerate co-host.
There's so many songs I can think of. Probably for me, it's always been Can't You Hear Me Knocking. I love the drumming on that. I love the drumming on Bitch, like we mentioned. Honky Tonk Woman. I just love the swagger on that song, the way it comes in. There's so many, there's something about Charlie's style that was, I don't think many people can understand it unless you're trying to, if you really listen to him playing, every time he hits a snare, he's not hitting a hi-hat. That's how I kind of hear it. That's exactly so. He's like instead of going all the way through, every time he hits the snare, it's like
it gives it space.
So it's kind of unique within itself, because no drummer really plays like that. But for me, I reckon probably Can't You Hear Me Knocking. I love the playing on that, but I'll go, Carl was mentioned Black and Blue, and I've always loved Hey Nagita. hot stuff, the drumming on that.
Yep.
Yeah. I could go on for hours, guys, but I'm going to stick with Can't You Hear Me Knocking, I think, for now. That's probably where my head's at. What about you, Andrew?
I'm going to say Sympathy for the Devil off the Get Your Yayas out. Just the way that the bass comes in during the solo. The solos are standouts as well. You know, the two guitar solos by Mick and Keith are, as guitar players, we concentrate on. But I don't think a lot of love gets pushed Charlie and Bill's way because they do that so well. And we said this the other day, didn't we, guys? You got Charlie looking this way, and you got Bill over here. They're still part of the party, but and you've got three other guys over here, doing their thing. But you got this unique rhythm section over here, which just for the time and right through. I remember when Emotional Rescue came out. When was that? 1980, 79, 1980, around
80,
then.
80.
And I remember that was before Tattoo You. So, and I remember talking to a couple of friends, and they were just saying, something like it was, disparagingly about, the drummer and the bass player, they just do nothing. Because they're not running around, or smashing, the drums like
it's not Van Halen.
Yeah. Into
Keith Moon.
thinking, but Keith
Yeah,
Moon.
exactly. Yeah.
Good example.
Mitchell.
Charlie's no Keith Moon, is
well,
he?
every other drummer, let's be honest, pretty much every other drummer. Yeah. Charlie has the simplest kit, doesn't he? He has the smallest drum kit you'll ever see on a stage.
Richard, I'll tell you who else has that drum kit. The same drum kit is Max Weinberg from Bruce Springsteen's band. He has the same drum kit as Charlie Watts.
Yeah, the Gretsch.
Yeah. But that layout of just one snare drum, one snare, bass drum, and one floor tom.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You need anything else?
One of the interesting stories I picked up on tour about Charlie is that he doesn't actually, and I've mentioned this recently too a little bit, but he doesn't actually practice the drums. The only time he drums is when he goes to rehearsals and plays with the band. He doesn't have a drum kit at home. He doesn't practice. The only thing he does is when they have Chinese, he breaks out the chopsticks and does a little drum solo on the table with his chopsticks. And I have that from a very, very, very reliable source. So so hopefully Charlie eats a lot of Chinese. I don't know how often he does, but that's the only time at home is a little chopstick drum solo. Practice on the table. No shit.
I saw that, Andrew.
Yeah.
Three honourable mentions, and Andrew touched on it, was obviously Emotional Rescue, but an unusual drum pattern, but just goes to show you that the Stones are chameleons, and whatever the genre is happening at that particular time, the Stones can do it, if not as well, or not, if not better. Was Miss You, the disco, disco beat, and then Shattered is not an easy drum pattern to play. And then obviously Emotional Rescue, it's very simple but very hard. It's very easy to play fast, but you play slow, it's very difficult.
Well, we've got a few. I asked a question in the chat for a few people to give us their favourite song of Charlie's. I've got Brian Pilmer's put The Swing of Honky Tonk Woman. Pete T, The Shuffle. He plays on Can't You Hear Me Knocking, his wonderful groove.
Yes.
All Down the Line and Slave from Gunnier. Hugh has put Get Off My Cloud. So cool, he said. So thanks, guys, for chipping in it. This is what we want. We want you guys to give us your favourite. Throw it in here and I'll read it out. I'll keep an eye on the chat. But, Foxy, what an amazing collection, mate. I'm here I am with a few things, including a Voodoo Lounge, tour shirt. And I had another one
nice.
I had another one that has since fallen to pieces because I wore it to death, basically. So I ended up using it. it went in the rag bin, unfortunately, because it was that far gone. It wasn't savable. But I saw them. The one and only time I saw them was on the Voodoo Lounge tour, and it was at Sydney Cricket Ground in Sydney in '95. I think it was around that time, and 2nd of April, I think. I'm just looking it up now, and they played some great tunes on that night, and I believe they changed their set list quite a bit as well. So I was just rapt that I managed to hear songs like Tumbling Dice, You Got Me Rocking. They played Shattered. They played, I'm going through and have a look now. Rockin' a Hard Place, Miss You, Happy. I was so happy to see Keith do Happy. Yeah. And I'm just going through the rest of the set list now. They did Sympathy
Monkey Man. Did you get Monkey Man or Midnight Rambler?
We got I'm just having a look. Monkey Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing, yeah. One night we got Midnight Rambler, one night Monkey Man. And it was just, to get Monkey Man was, oh my God, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, obviously the staples that probably never leave the set list, which I won't read out every single one, but I guess from a standpoint of sitting there watching these guys, in '95, playing It's Only Rock and Roll, But I Like It, and Brown Sugar and things like that, I was just like, oh, wow, this is like watching a piece of history on stage. History on stage. I had the same emotion when I saw Buddy Guy playing at the Arts Centre here in Melbourne, and it was a dear friend worked there and got myself and my ex at the time. We went on there to watch Buddy Guy, and I felt the same emotion. I was watching a piece of history on stage. It was quite amazing, and obviously Buddy Guy's played with those guys before, so that's why I thought I'd mention that. But so to actually have travelled around the world to watch the Stones, that's pretty honourable. That's a big fan. Foxy's already got. Oh, there he is.
No, I'm back. So, I'm just looking for something of interest.
So you've travelled around the world to watch the Stones, specifically to watch the Stones. Is that why you've travelled?
Only to watch this. Since 2014, So yeah, I can go through it quickly. I guess 95, 2 shows in Auckland, 97, 4 shows in America. 98, I did Nuremberg, which is where Hitler gave his speeches, and the opening show of the European tour. And then Hanover, then 5 in Amsterdam, which was amazing. 5 shows in one place is just such a great thing. So that was 98. Then 99, they'd cancelled in 98 because of the tax problems. They cancelled the UK show. So then went back into Groningen, which is in Northern Holland, and then to Murrayfield, and then to Sheffield, and then the Holy Grail of Shepherd's Bush, and then two at Wembley. So that was 99. And then 2003, I came to Aussie and I did the Enmore Theatre in Sydney, which was my second club show. 2 more in Sydney there, and then the 3 at Rod Laver. Didn't do the Brisbane ones, so that was 6 shows that year. In 2006, they came down under again, so I did Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, Wellington. And then there was a big gap, kids and blah, blah, life changed, and I couldn't, no money to go anywhere else, and they didn't do a lot else after that, really. And then 2014 rocked round, and then I went to town on that in terms of Australia. So I did all the shows except, once again, Brisbane. So I did Hunter Valley, the 2 Perth shows. Second Perth show, Loving Cup. Oh, my God, it's like, lots of shows and certain songs, but to see Loving Cup is one of my favourite songs. And that was the vote song that had won the vote, and that blew me away. It was just, tears in the eyes. It was just amazing. So all the Aussie shows that year, and so 2014. And then after that, it was just every year since then up until last year. I've been everywhere. So all around Europe, South America, did the Argentinian shows, and then a couple of times to the States, and got into the Fonda Theatre show for the. Which they filmed, the Sticky Fingers Fonda Theatre show, which is live at Sticky Fingers, or whatever you can buy on DVD, Blu-ray. So I'm actually in that. If you look at the video, you'll clearly see me on Dead Flowers and Wild Horses. They zoom in on me. And then just more shows and cool shows in America. So just, all over the place, really, wherever I can. My one place that's missing off my list is Japan. I really wanted to see them in Japan, and that's probably not ever going to happen now. Well, not in this. So,
what was the smallest venue you'd seen them, Richard? Where, like, for example, like, say, VIP?
Well, I've done the
500
three club shows, so the Enmore Theatre and the Shepherd's Bush Empire and the Fonda Theatre in America, and so they're all similar-ish. I guess the smallest is Shepherd's Bush, which is like a couple of thousand, and Steve Tyler was there, Marianne Faithfull was there.
Unbelievable sound in a small venue.
I'm front row every time, so the sound's always good, mate. You know, lots of people go to shows and say, "Oh, the sound was crap here," and I think any venue you go to, you can find someone who's going to bitch about the sound where they are. You know, and I'm pretty
I've
much
seen
always
photos
front.
Of you. Photos of you where you actually your arms close to Keith's leg and you're next to Mick, aren't you? Is that right?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the there's the Rock Me Baby AC/DC with the Stones at the Enmore Theatre video, the official video of that. I'm in that. They film that from the side, and you can see me in that, and you can see me in the Shepherd's Bush one as well. So yeah, front row, the sound is always good. It's off the monitors, it's straight off them. You know, it's good. And then the last couple of shows that I've seen, actually, Mick's actually a couple of times, or once maybe, he was actually had the microphone away and was talking to the audience. You know, there he is walking back along the B stage. You know, I can't remember what he said, but he was actually saying some stuff that wasn't, you know, going out to everyone else. So
wow.
Yeah.
I'll pick up someone here. Pete T in the chat said he saw them in '95 at MCG, and I remember they opened with Not Fade Away. Yeah, that's what they opened with in Sydney as well on that same tour.
Pretty much that whole tour, I think. Most of that whole tour.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So obviously you made a comment earlier about Mick Taylor being influential, or your favourite era of the Rolling Stones. There's no argument from me. I'm pretty sure that everybody else on the panel agrees. Did you see? How many times have you seen
Simon
Mick Taylor?
Do you agree, Simon? Simon, do you agree?
What the Mick Taylor version of the Rolling? That's
Taylor years better than the Brian Jones years.
No, different. The truth of it is, no, I don't believe they are very different. And you know, I think that the interesting part is that Keith and Brian very much had that intermeshing thing, and then with Mick Taylor, they had much more kind of defined roles. Mick Taylor clearly the lead guitarist, and that clearly, I think that when they went back to Ronnie Wood, they went back to what Keith really likes, which is having the intermeshing guitars bit. I mean, seriously, I only say that for a bit of cheek, really. But you know, I think that they are different. You know, what I think Ronnie Wood and Keith Richards is a great combination. Suits Keith fantastically. I think they're really great. I think the Brian Jones years are great as well. I think that innovation that he brought, that ability with, you know, play lots of different instruments, lots of different things, you know, and take the Stones from being, you know, a blues covers band to, you know, into doing their own stuff. And I know he didn't really write very much, but he brought a lot of texture and a lot of colour to those things. So no, I think they're very different eras, and I don't think I don't think one is necessarily better. I always say that just for cheek, really. But,
yeah, for sure.
You know, so no,
I think most fans, I guess, would say the Mick Taylor years were the best, and those are the great albums were in that period of time. And you know, no Jones, no Stones, and all of that. So, but I like the Mick Taylor stuff the best. But without Brian Jones, we'd have no Rolling Stones. But I do think that Ronnie Wood is the perfect foil. You know, he's the perfect Stone. You know, Brian was Brian, and Mick Taylor was, you know, wonderful as well. But Ronnie Wood is a effing Rolling Stone. You know, he was born to be in that band. So
New boy Ronnie Wood. He's been there 46 years.
Yes. Yeah, he's still the newbie, you know. He's still the newbie. You know, and I'm sure his vote doesn't count for as much as other three people's vote did, you know.
No. It is funny. That always makes me laugh. That new boy Ronnie Wood. He's been there 46 years. At what point do you become not a new boy?
Well, and he still thinks of himself like that too. I think you watch a press conference or whatever. He's always playing the diminutive third person in the end. You know, take Charlie out of the picture literally now. But you know, Ronnie's always kind of, you know, looking up at the big brothers, you know, and seeing if I can save us or whatever, you know. So.
And he
for
gives
sure.
us all hope. He gives us all hope because they consider him the young whippersnapper or the young stone. He's
Yes.
what, 74, 75 years old?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's been doing it nearly as long as they have, isn't he? He's almost
75.
Well, exactly.
75, is he? Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Hey, we
Fantastic.
were going to, Andrew and I were talking about this when you got unfortunately cut off, Richard, but when did the news reporters start to hound mainly Mick, because Mick did the majority of the interviews? Obviously, Charlie would shy away, but when Charlie did talk, it was actually very funny. But when did they start to say, "Okay, guys, when are you gonna hang up your hat? Is this the last tour? You guys are getting a bit old now." Was it 75 or 72? Do you know, Richard?
I would think from memory, I think it was the early 70s. So, yeah, more like 72 or something like that, Because bands didn't last that long, One of the beauties of the Stones, and Keith particularly loves this, is that, they're not following any roadmap, other than the old blues guys. They're the leaders, but still the leaders in their field. There is no cut-off time and limit. And, Mick said, I don't want to be singing Satisfaction at 40, but he's going to be singing it at close to 80. So, Yeah.
And I was looking at YouTube. So Charlie's last song with the band in 2019 was Satisfaction.
Satisfaction, yes. Yeah. So, yeah. During that concert, "Give Me Shelter" was the before that. Was it the other encore song? No, I forget. But "Give Me Shelter" came on. The clouds literally opened and it pissed down with rain when they started "Give Me Shelter." It was just amazing timing,
And here's a fun fact for all you Stones fans out there. This is a gripe from Richard Fox personally to the band: is they've never done Winter Live. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, write a letter.
Speaking of Miami, so this is the last ever Charlie Watts concert. This is the set list from the last ever Charlie Watts show. I don't know if you can see that at all. So these are Ronnie Wood's set lists. So Ronnie makes these and sells these. So yeah.
Nice.
Is that original or is it a print?
It's a print. You can buy them. You can buy them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So,
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's a piece of history now, Going to that show is just amazing. So, yeah.
Unreal, mate. Well done.
Yeah.
You see, I saw a lovely thing.
Couple
of tweets from Max Weinberg, who said when he met Charlie Watts, they met in a first time, and he said to quite a lot of people there, and everyone's got their own tinted areas, and he said so they spoke for sort of 3 or 4 minutes, and then Charlie softly said to him, "Where are you off to now?" to signal the end of their little talk. He said it's the best end to a little conversation with, in a kind of meet and greet way. He said we've used it ever since that. Charlie's, where are you off to now? It's like closing. It's beautiful.
A little bit different.
Really cool that.
When when Axl Rose first met Keith Richards said, "Do you have any cigarettes?"
Bet, yes.
Well,
I think that's what about Charlie, doesn't it? Yeah, the gentleman.
What Keith said to Donald Trump when he first met him?
No.
At Atlantic City in '89, Keith said, "Either he goes or I go." So Keith obviously had a premonition that he was a
Oh wow.
yeah. So way back in '89, Keith said, "Either he goes or I go." So backstage or whatever, I'm not sure. I can't remember the actual circumstances, but Keith was keen to pull a knife on him at the time,
Oh, that's funny. That is, yeah.
And of course, I presume you've all heard the my drummer story or whatever.
That's been doing the rounds on all the news things.
Yeah, it has indeed. Yes.
I like the detail, Richard, don't you? That he got up, put his suit on. Put his tie on, shaved, got his, then went down and hit him.
I'm not your drummer, you're my singer. Beautiful.
I must say, I love that as a kind of beautiful kind of like I put on my suit, sorted myself out, then I went down and hit him.
Don't mess with Charlie Watts. Bottom line.
ever messing. No, that's right. That's fantastic.
Third time lucky. Third time lucky. Let's see if we can play
Come on.
this.
Okay.
Third time lucky.
From the top.
Now we're not getting any pictures, Andrew. We get no
Painted
pictures
black
and no
still.
sound. Painted, yes.
What's going on here? Hold on. Technology.
StreamYards have clearly done some improvements.
No, it's not StreamYards. It's the guy operating.
Oh, there it was. Oh, we had a picture then.
Hold on.
The guy operating. Operator error.
Yeah.
So let's just try this, guys. Let's see what's...
We did have pictures for a second, a millisecond, and now we don't.
Radio with pictures.
Oh, there we are. Look, when you did that, it got
some
a picture,
drumming.
Andrew.
I heard a bit of
Stuart
drumming.
Copeland.
Okay. You guys carry on talking. I'll just have another fiddle.
Yeah. Because one of the reasons I asked you, and I don't mean to be rude, but older people tend to like the Brian. Not all of them for sure, but a lot of them like the Brian Jones stuff because that's what they were brought up on. And I know you came in a little later than that, but you know, a lot of the the older gentlemen prefer to love the '60s predominantly, and that's their gig.
Yeah.
So,
no, completely. I understand it. No, as I say, I really only say that the Mick Taylor version is the best version, just for a joke, really. It's not. As I say, I don't believe that to be necessarily true. I think they both got.
I do, but and a lot of people do. But.
It's probably my favourite era, which is a different thing. So for me, but
True. That is different because you can argue easily the Brian Jones years are the best years because they set it up. They set the destiny in the right direction. So, and obviously it's gone and moved around and followed some different things. But basically, it's blues rock, isn't it? What this show's all about, isn't it? White men playing
blues rock,
Southern American rock.
I think that they went from being a blues band to being a rock band.
Yes.
And that transition from being a blues band to being a rock band, Satisfaction is clearly not a blues.
Almost blues to pop to rock, is a bit poppy there as well, I guess.
There we go.
Now we're talking.
Don't, all that other shit doesn't matter. Just hit that magic sweet spot, the good foot, the whatever it is. Of course I got...
Brilliant.
It's wonderful, that, isn't it? Yeah. Did you enjoy the? I love the black and white footage of the girls just sort of attacking them on the stage. In contrast, or guy or whoever, but and like completely nobody stopping them at all. And we contrast that with was it 1972 with Keith hitting that bloke over the head with his Telecaster?
81, 81,
81. Yes.
Yeah.
Clearly,
when the balloons come down to Satisfaction,
I'm going to hit people with it. Yes.
You never missed a note.
Yeah.
Apparently, he turned his guitar off before he did it. Apparently, turned the volume off before he hit him with it, so it wouldn't go clang.
So I'm glad. Thank you guys for persevering with me. I was listening to everything that you guys were saying while we were uploading that, but I just wanted to make sure that that piece, especially by Nico McBrain, where he was explaining the differences between Ringo's drumming and Charlie's drumming, I thought was just spot on. So we'll probably get blocked for that. So everybody that watched it will have to edit that bit out later on because the Stones are a little bit notorious like that. But hey, I had one question for you, and you guys took it somewhere else, and I never got to answer it. Ask it. Sorry. Mick Taylor. How many times have you seen Mick Taylor play with the Stones? Richard.
Okay, 7 times.
Wow.
I think all on the 40 on Fire tour, on the 7 shows I went to on that. So that was it. So once again, only on Satisfaction and Midnight Rambler, I think, for the shows that I went to. So So not a full Mick Taylor show. So and I've never seen Brian Jones, obviously, and I've never seen Bill Wyman either in the flesh at all anywhere. So
that's correct, Vanzini. The last drummer is the guy
Chad
from
Smith.
the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Chad. Yep.
Chad
Good
Smith,
spotting.
yeah.
Yes,
Not
indeed.
bad for an old fella, and I mean that respectfully too, great Vanzini. I mean that respectfully. Good spotting.
Oh dear.
Right.
I'll tell you one thing I found. I found this is a book by Max Weinberg, and there's a really good interview with Charlie Watts in it. I realised at the back, and Bruce Springsteen wrote the foreword to it, and he says in it, "When Mick sings, it's only rock and roll, but I like it. Charlie's in back showing you why."
Yeah,
I think that's a fantastic
quote. That's a fantastic
that's
quote, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
When he hit in the said, "That's why."
Yes.
That's brilliant. I don't know.
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
And we
So we
can't forget the great relationship between Bill Wyman and Charlie Watts.
Yes.
It's never spoken about that, is it? Interesting that. Yeah.
Bill called him his brother today, I think, in his little thing I saw online or whatever, But so
yeah, because that was 62 to 93. That's a long time to be the engine room. What's that? 62 to 92, 31 years. Bass and it's incredible.
Yeah, it is. But you're right. That thing about not being spoken about, normally you talk about rhythm sections, don't you? In the Rolling Stones, you talk about Keith and Charlie more than you talk about Bill and Charlie. Or
generally, yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough in my travels on, and occasionally, I don't know how many times I'd have to count them up, but 3 or 4, I guess, times I've been lucky in certain cities. Tim Reese predominantly, he does his little, he's a jazz, their sax player, and he's very much a jazz, I think he's a doctor or a professor of jazz or something, or teaches it as well. And he often does a little show the night before the Stones play, and him and Bernard Fowler predominantly, and it's a whole lot of Stones tunes just played purely in a jazz format. And I've seen them several times, and on maybe 3 or 4 occasions, Charlie's come and joined in and done 1 or 2 songs with them, and it's just such a thrill, And we're talking in a tiny club, like 100 people, And there is Charlie Watts, his bodyguard, his granddaughter, and a couple of the crew. And they're playing. Bernard and Tim are doing their thing, and Chuck Leavell once as well, and Daryl Jones once or twice. But then in comes Charles Robert Watts, and it's, oh my God, Charlie's here, like that. And it's cool because no one's running to him with an autograph. There might be the odd person, but we're all just okay. We'll just, if we scare him off today, he's not going to come back next time and do it, or he's just going to turn around and leave. He's not getting paid to do this. So we just sit there, and I remember one night he just came and sit. They had saved the seat at the front of the stage. It wasn't even a dance floor or anything, and they'd saved him a seat, and he's just sitting there, and I'm sitting like 3 meters away from him, kind of watching the band, looking at Charlie, and then he gets up out with the brushes and does Honky Tonk Woman or Ruby Tuesday or whatever he did, and did a couple of tunes like that, and it's just. Just getting to see Charlie in that completely jazz setting. If you had lived in the UK or in Japan or America, you'd actually can go to a proper show and see Charlie do, an hour or 2 hours of jazz, which, to be honest, is not really my cup of tea. But just to see him do it for, a few tunes and that, and the Stones setting with Stones fans around is just Christmas, It's just a real highlight, a real buzz to see that happen, Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. We've got a special little shout out that we want to do too, and I don't know. I think I've made a mistake. I don't think I've told the Rock Professor this. So
no worries, I'll go with it.
Yeah, I don't think I've told the Rock Professor this. So, but I'm going to blame Brad. So, Brad, what's the news?
Well,
In my defense, Rock Professor, we only decided this pretty much late last night or this morning. I can't remember what it is. There's been that many messages back and forwards.
That's right. No worries.
We're going to bump the Sabbath show this Sunday for the following week or something and do a Rolling Stones album instead. We were thinking it's only rock and roll.
Yeah, cool. Fine.
Okay, just out of respect for Charlie, I think we should be doing that. Keep it focused on
choice
this weekend. So we'll do the Sabbath one. We're not going to completely we're going to bump it for the following week or something like that. We will do it.
That's okay. Yeah.
But keep your notes if you've been writing notes already. Just keep them. You've already done some work for that show coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, mate.
Sorry,
I should have let you know. I think we discussed it last night or something like that. Sorry.
There has been a lot of messaging going back and forward, so we've probably sort of all lost concentration on what's going on.
I can cope.
We're going to do a bit of a collaborative thing. It's not. No one's going to actually be running it, Simon. It'll probably be a little bit of it from each of us.
Yeah.
Right, because I haven't had a lot of time to prepare for it, so
we know the structure. So we can
Andrew knows a lot of stuff about the record anyway. So between the three of us, we'll manage.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, Carl, if you want to be part of the show tomorrow, if you want to go through the tracks on It's Only Rock and Roll, you're more than welcome to join us too, brother.
Great. It's good. Yeah, it's an often overlooked album, but there is some gems on there. Yep. Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Funny enough, I've been toying with the idea of choosing it as one of mine for a little bit. It's on my list. Yeah, so it's fine.
That's kind of what was stuck in the back of my mind anyway, Simon, that you wanted to pick it a couple of albums ago, and I thought we should probably do a Rolling Stones album this weekend.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. Yeah, it's fine. I'm completely fine. My family are going away. They're going to a festival today, so I've got today and tomorrow on my own. What better thing to do than listen to It's Only Rock and Roll, make a few notes.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that. Again, my apologies.
Brad
chucked me a message and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Yeah, shit, that's a great idea."
don't tell Simon.
No. Oh no. No, we're not that much of a pack of bastards, mate. You turn up with your notes for Black Sabbath.
Yeah, slightly out of place. Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. Yeah, but no worries. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah. No, it was a last minute thing, so Simon would probably, that's the thing. I can't work out what group chat's going on anymore because there's about 3 or 4 I'm part of for the show, and I'm like, I can't keep up. There's messages from Michael, there's messages from Kurt, there's messages from you, there's messages from Andrew. I'm old school, mate. I like one thing at a time, and Andrew's juggling all this around, and we're, in all fairness, though, there is a lot going on this week with Charlie passing away, so we've just been back and forwards.
Well, and you're doing you did was it Number of the Beast this morning, didn't you?
Oh,
with Simon, and you're doing Van Halen tomorrow night.
Jeez, I'm earning my money this week.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't got anything better to do with you. Lockdown 7.0. You're in.
But it's amazing, isn't it? When you jump on social media and just see all the tributes to Charlie. Like I said yesterday, guys. I got up, had a look at my phone, scrolled through, saw a couple of photos of Charlie. Didn't pay much attention to it, and then realised there was a couple more. Put my glasses on, and then saw, jeepers, he'd passed away. Realised, so it was. Losing Dusty a couple of weeks beforehand, and then obviously Charlie kind of puts things into a little bit of perspective, isn't it? When you look at Ericclapton, Keith, Mick, Bob Dylan, Steve Winwood, these guys, in their 70s, it's like, oh my gosh, the greatest, one of the greatest eras in popular music. British rock and roll, It's
they lived.
It's a bit like a
rock
Who's album.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Yeah, by the end of this decade, the world will look very different, I think, you know?
What's that, sorry?
Yeah. Bob Dylan's 80, isn't
By,
he? So
by the end of the decade, there'll be, you know, going to be a lot of different, you know, a lot of names will have left our vocabulary on a daily basis, I guess, you know? So
Absolutely.
Yeah. There is something about the rock and roll lifestyle, isn't it, that seems to shorten people's lives a bit.
Except for Keith, you know?
Well, you know, do you know, Richard? I didn't really be disrespectful, but one of the things I thought when I heard that the post was, how the effing hell did Keith Richards outlive Charlie Watts?
Yeah. Well, let's be honest, he's going to outlive us all, you know?
Probably, yes. Yeah.
Charlie Watts has looked old for about 30 years, let's face it.
Yeah, he hasn't changed.
He didn't age because of bad habits. He just aged because he just always looked like a bit of an old man.
Well, that's slightly my point, really, isn't it? You know, that Keith has, you know, clearly done the rock and roll lifestyle way over on the scale, you know.
Well, he invented it, didn't he?
Yeah, he invented it and did it for several decades and, you know, and yet managed to outlive a man who just had a bit of a blip in the 80s or the early 90s or whatever it was. And, yeah, that's a rather cheeky thing. So, guys, do we think the Stones should continue? Do you think they will continue?
We discussed that
perennial question.
I think that Charlie would want them to. Would the drummer be Steve Jordan, Richard, from Keith's personal?
Well, that's who's lined up to do the American shows. So one would presume yes for live stuff. Yeah. Well, for all stuff now. Yeah.
I'd be quite interested to see what the sound would be like, because Steve Jordan and Daryl Jones having that sort of funk background be quite interesting. One thing I do know, if Mick died or Keith died, that would be it. Let's face it. How do you replace them?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, you can't, you know, via, you know, to the public as well, via the Stones, you know, the Glimmer Twins. So
yeah.
You know, if Ronnie left, you know, you could slide someone else in there, and you know, a handful of Stones fans like us might be upset, but you know, the public aren't going to care too much, you know.
There's some precedent for it, isn't there, Richard? You know, in terms of
He's the third wife anyway, isn't he already? You know, so why not add another one to the list?
Third wife, yes, my current wife.
Yeah, pretty much.
If Ronnie passed away, what do you think the idea of maybe Slash or Izzy filling the shoes?
Oh, well, yeah. I love Izzy Stradlin. Slash is great, don't get me wrong, but Izzy Stradlin could be a Stone. Yeah, he could be Ronnie's brother, couldn't he? You know,
easy.
So, but well, yeah, I was going to say you want an Englishman, but look at the rest of the band. Not too many in there now. So yeah,
yes.
So
we got an Australian. We got an
Australian
that might do it.
Yeah.
What we can send Brad along. Yes. All the credentials
for free, even probably. Yeah,
I'll do it. No problem. No, I think personally, I think they will continue. I sort of saw a couple of things that alluded to that maybe on the internet today, but I don't know what source they're from, so I don't believe things on the internet anyway. But I do believe they will get out and hit the road with Steve Jordan. They'll probably do. I don't know whether they'll jump straight back out. I mean, they've got tour dates, haven't they? They've got booked at the moment. So
rehearsals will probably start next week. Rehearsals in Boston will start next week, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know for a fact that in this day and age,
be LA rehearsals, but in America.
It's way too expensive to reschedule dates because of something like, unless it was to cancel, to reschedule. There's so like to tour these days is way more expensive than it ever has been. So to reschedule dates for them might not necessarily be an option, which is why like ZZ Top continued with their current tour instead of rescheduling later.
Plus
I know
this global thing too, bro. You don't know when it's going to go into lockdown, So
that's
yeah.
right.
They've already rescheduled. These are already rescheduled dates, So
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That it's almost every time a band has to reschedule, it costs the band. So that I don't know whether they'd probably honour Charlie's request to tour with Steve Jordan, maybe. And I kind of felt the same way a little bit about Dusty when he passed away with ZZ Top, because I have ZZ Top up there as the same sort of position as I do for the Stones in my head. And at first I thought, it feels a bit disrespectful to just go out and play straight off the bat the next sort of 2 nights after Dusty passed away. But I guess in a roundabout way, then the common sense thing kicked in, the touring, the rescheduling, and they're not young guys anymore. And I feel like they deserve the right to still play because that's their purpose. That's musicians like Keith and Mick Jagger, Ronnie Wood. They've been doing it for so long. It would be almost like it would probably stop them in their tracks if they weren't to play, because that's their purpose. It keeps them young, keeps them alive. You know what I mean? So yeah, saying that though, I don't know. If they were 30 years younger, they might reschedule and things would be different, and they might reassess things and go back. But when they're in that 70s, they're not going to wait another 12 months to 2 years before they decide to go back out on the road with a different drummer. Let's be honest.
And my guess is that clearly the Rolling Stones is a business, big business, employs a lot of people, doesn't, and you have to. And it has to, if you look at it like, it has to be organised for years ahead. Things, they wouldn't just be planning for the rest of this year. I'm sure there's a bit of that, but the organisation as such, rolls, doesn't it?
Well, with the Stones, I've heard stories with the Stones where they, for example, press release, we're doing a worldwide tour, sold out within 10 minutes every time.
Yeah. And of course, there is they played Hyde Park, didn't they? About not that long after Brian Jones died.
69. Yeah,
69. I mean, not really very close, because Mick read the poem and all of that, and they released the Butterflies, which is very close.
2 days later. 2 days later.
They changed that overnight to basically a Brian Jones memorial concert.
Yeah. And I know he wasn't technically in the Stones anymore, but even then they played 2 days after. Didn't cancel it or anything.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
The show must go on. So it's big money, and insurance companies are involved, and there's lots of there's very tricky, intricate contracts for each individual Stone with slightly different clauses and things like that. So I think they will carry on unless COVID stops them, for this year at least.
It's a machine. And Andrew and I have spoken about this in the past with Mick and Keith. Let's say they play for another 10 years. A swan song would be maybe for them to die on stage.
Well, next year is their 60th anniversary, and they'll play some shows in London. There's talk of Royal Albert Hall. Don't know about that, but they want to do some 60th stuff. It will be in the UK in July. I'll be there regardless of quarantine, and if I have to swim there, and
I remember a show we did with you a while ago, Foxy, and you said something, and it's always been in the back of my mind with Mick Jagger. You said he's a guy that's driven, he's a guy that sets goals, he's a guy that likes to set records. So, he was one of the first guys to have a band, to go into 50, and still going, so he'd want to be the first rock and roller still performing 60.
Yes. He's not particularly sentimental, I don't think, but he's looking forward, and we're looking forward to getting to 60 rather than looking back at 60 years ago. I kind of think.
And I've seen on his Instagram account, Mick Jagger. He still looks great. His cheeky smile. He's strumming the guitar.
He's still got the moves like Jagger. Don't worry about Mick. He's still going to be the fittest guy in the stadium.
Yeah,
because they had their own record label, their own plane in the early 70s, and You are right. They're a
Yes.
machine. You know, it's a machine.
Yeah. Even
And
more
it's been
so
like
these
that for a
days.
long
You know,
time,
even more
hasn't
so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been like that for a long time. And I also
Yeah.
think that I've said this a lot about other that if you're Keith Richards, what the hell, and you're 70, whatever he is, 78, whatever he is, what the hell else are you going to do?
Yes. Yes.
Sit at home and die. Well, F
I always
that.
joke that
Might as well go out and bloody
polishes his
play.
lemon,
Yeah,
So,
yes.
I had a
Well,
question
other than
too.
Might as well go out and play, mightn't you? I think. I mean,
What's
I'm
Keith's
all
current
for it. I think.
status? He's given up. He's given up vodka, the cigarettes. Is that right?
Well, I think he said that
He's given it all
alcohol
up.
had given him up, really.
Yeah.
There's
At
nothing left to
one
drink.
stage, I was skeptical because it said he had stopped drinking, and then you saw him with a picture of something I can't remember, with a drink, and Keith stopping drinking. Maybe I'm down from a bottle a day just to a couple of glasses a day, so I've stopped.
I think he has a glass of wine or something. But I did read that really basically he said it didn't really enjoy it anymore, so he clearly cut back. But
Mick still drinks, so he still enjoys a beer or two, So
a beer or two, yes.
and that's about it, though, And I don't imagine much more than that, So
no, completely.
Ron Wood's very passionate about his sobriety now, isn't he?
Oh, they're all frozen.
Yeah.
But to echo what everyone said, they're a fun band. They love the fans. The fans love them. The show must go on.
Yes.
Yeah. But also, I think the show must go on for them.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Well, it keeps them alive, You hear the usual story about guys who retire, whatever they're doing, whether they're a banker or whatever, and they retire and they die next year, because they've got nothing to live for. So yeah, I'm sure it keeps them alive to a point.
Let's go back to my original point. If you're a musician, then go out and play. If you're Keith Richards, then you go out and play your guitar.
Yes,
look at Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yes, BB King.
Yeah.
They all just carried on. BB King carried on sitting down.
Well, I need to go, guys. I've got a few things to do now, but the Stones world carries on, and I need to go and
we're going to wrap up.
Things,
Yeah, we're going to wrap up.
Richard, just one last joke. Is that all right?
Okay. All right.
Just one last joke. So with your Voodoo Lounge and all your memorabilia, if there was a nuclear holocaust or some sort of meltdown, how long could you last in that room with Rolling Stone beverages and cookies and cereal?
Oh. Well, I just wouldn't want to drink it. That's the thing. I just don't want to drink it, I can certainly start a few fires.
Buy food and drink.
Yeah, well, there's quite a bit of booze in here, really. Actually, there's a lot of vodka, tequila, and wine.
Didn't you have some cereal or cookies from Mexico?
Yeah, no, I've got the biscuits I showed you from Chile. So I've got biscuits from there. I've got some lollipops. I've got the piles and piles of Mentos mints. I've got some chocolate bars from New Zealand. I've got some new Stone chocolate bars came out a year or so ago.
At the end of the world, but he'll have a fresh breath.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of Stones chocolate bars here. So cherry red and brown sugar. So,
funny.
which he'll be unable to open to eat. Yes.
Trust Carl.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Thank you very much, Foxy. Come back and come back and do another show. I know that Carl and I will have got an invite from you to come up to the Voodoo Lounge and do a live.
Go live
at the Voodoo Lounge. So we'll
we might be technically challenged, but you might be able to do it in some sort of broken down format. We will huddle around one laptop or something and on the sofa here, and
Well, if worst comes to worst, we can always come up there and record.
Yeah.
We can record something
Mm-hmm.
and that'd be good.
Seriously, I'm keen for you guys to come up one day if you want to.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yep.
But look, your input and insight and your passion, actually, the passion that you have for a band that's very dear to us, and this show is contagious. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass it on to Brad, Carl, and Simon, and then you can have the last word, and then we'll promise we'll let you split just 2 minutes.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you very much, brother.
Right.
Brad.
No worries. Anytime.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. Carl and Foxy, Simon, Andrew, thanks for having me on. And thank you, everyone in the chat, for your contributions today. It's been wonderful. I have been focusing on all the comments coming through, and we really appreciate it. We've had a fair few people jumping on watching us, which is really, really good to see. And, again, shouts out to our mate Warren, wishing you all the best. In the next few weeks, mate. So
absolutely,
our prayers are with you, mate, and we sincerely want to get you back in the chat here, and can't wait to catch up with you and know that you're fighting fit, and looking forward to that. Everyone in the chat, if you haven't subscribed to us or you're watching this later, please do give us a thumbs up, and thank you, guys. I'll hand it over to who's next. Carl, you're next.
Oh yeah, hey, I really first of all, thank you, Andrew, for organising the show. Brad, great to see you. I've been watching your clips on YouTube and Spotify. What a talent! I see a little bit of Black Crows, Lenny Kravitz, a whole bunch of stuff there, and I'm just blown away.
Thank you.
So absolutely, Richard. Thank you so much for your larger-than-life personality, your larger-than-life collection, and everything that you add to the show. You're almost like a celebrity. Can I call you a celebrity?
Yes.
Why not?
A little one.
Yeah,
great. Whatever.
And Simon, I would really appreciate you. I'm not sure what time that is there in Bristol on the border of Wales and England, but thank you for being a trooper.
11 a.m. It's fine.
Oh, okay, not bad, not bad.
I'm good. No, it's good now.
So brunch time, no problem. And
coffee time.
Bittersweet show, obviously. I said to Andrew before, when we think of the Stones, we think of the next tour or the next album. We just think of them as immortal. And unfortunately, we are all getting old, and we're just so fortunate that Charlie, 80 years. Wow, what a statement! What a journey! What a show! And the show will go on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Simon, you got your last word, and then Foxy.
Well, I'll say thanks to Hugh Caldwell, Lloyd Hollerbeck, Great Vanzini, good to see you, Sonia, Brian Plimmer, Mark Tanner, Hugh. Just say thanks to the people. Pete, who else? Brian Plimmer has been doing lots of things. Sonia, of course, Arvin as well, Arvin Gorn, and Nelson Rodriguez was around earlier. Gunler, Hugh Caldwell, did I mention him? Probably. Johnny Bean. Look, Johnny Bean came and raided us, but we didn't notice. Robot Master Switch. Mark Tanner, Hugh Caldwell. Hopefully I got most people. Ellen Vorishine and people at the beginning, weren't there? Who I can't go back far enough to see. But thanks all for joining. Well, yeah. So for me, the last word, and I think what I read out earlier, the Bruce Springsteen quote, I think is what I leave you with. It's only rock and roll, but I like it. Charlie's in the back showing you why that's true, and possibly James Brown, the greatest band leader of all time. Give the drummer some.
Charlie's good tonight, isn't he?
Yeah. Yep. Give the drummer some. So hats off to Mr. Charlie Watts.
Absolutely.
Richard.
And thanks Andrew, particularly for inviting me, and great to hang out with you guys for a couple of hours and talk Stones. And I could probably do this for well, until the day I die, talk about the Stones non-stop and enjoy it. And it's good talking with knowledgeable guys and you know your stuff and that's great. And I really appreciate that. And I love sharing my hobby and my passion with everyone. And hope all the people in the chat enjoyed it as well. And I didn't go on too much. And but yeah, it's been great. Obviously, with these sorts of things, it's a sad occasion brings people together, but it's been good, and it's all been good stuff and positive about Charlie, and we'll miss him, and the world will miss him, and life will go on for the rest of us, but but he'll never be forgotten, and his music will live on, and in years and years to come, people will reference Charlie Watts and the drums, and as you guys discussed, who are more technical than me, the way he plays and stuff, and just what he contributed to rock and roll history is just not to be taken lightly. He was the drummer of the greatest rock and roll band in the world from day one until and today, yesterday the song that kept going through my mind, and it wasn't a Stone song at all, is Don McLean, the day the music died. And for me, it's huge. It's just I don't know. It's,
58 years.
When Bobby Keys left, that was, my God, that was just I miss him from the Stones more than anyone who'd previously been through the Stones family. But this is another level again. Charles Robert Watts is just, he's the heart and soul, the backbone, the rock. He's always there, dependable. He's the guy Mick goes to or whatever. It's just we're going to miss him dearly. But
the timekeeper, the clock.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, thank you, Charlie, for everything you gave the world, and especially what you gave me. And my life would be so different if I didn't have the Rolling Stones. I spend hours a day doing Stonesy stuff, and just all my best friends are Stones fans, and it's from all around the world, and it's just shaped my life completely since I was 17, and it's just going to be different now. But thank you, Charlie. We love you.
Yeah,
amen. Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
Andrew.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Rich. That was wonderful. No tears, guys.
Yeah.
We'll keep the tears for the
out of tears
for the music. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, Charlie.
Bye bye.
See you guys.
It's been great. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Great. Awesome.
Take everyone in the chat. Bye.
Yeah.
Have a good night, guys. Pleasure. God bless you.